Welcome to another episode of Target Topics. I'm Gene Abbey, the Executive Director of Target Markets. And today we're going to be talking with Raja Raman regarding some of the AI aspects of insurance, and particularly as it pertains to the program insurance space. So, Raja, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Gene. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. So one of the questions I had, the AI space is a big thing going on today in the
Yes.
industry, right? What has been your observations within the MGA and program administrator space that piqued your interest and drove you to kind of look for solutions?
I'll just give a little background about Insillion first. Like we are a task provider, and we have been servicing carrier market in the rest of the world, the Middle East, India, and East Asia region. And when we looked at North America, like we had option of starting with the carrier market or with an MGA market. So MGA is the non-existent concept in that part of the world. When we looked at it, like MGAs are providing similar solutions like carrier. It's almost the same, but they don't get to have the same type of software or tech solutions from the tech providers. They can't afford a guide wire to start with as a startup. They can't have large type implementations. They don't have IT team and they don't have infrastructure. So they needed something similar, but they don't get that. That is the reason we thought, like, why can't we repurpose our carrier grade solution for the MGAs and provide it in a SaaS model, in a pay-as-you-grow model? So they don't have to worry too much about the initial cost and then the working with the team or anything like that. So all these things become seamless. That's how we picked the MGA market to start with. Like that is basically, there are not many solution providers who provide carrier grade solution to them. But when you look at it, like their automation and their data procurement, everything is like kind of substandard. They have to spend either a lot of time trying to build all these things, or like they live with whatever they get. So that's why we thought like we need more of an automated solution in the entire MGA spectrum. That's how we started with it.
Okay, great. So, when we look at technology, I mean, that's transforming the space, quite frankly, right? And
Right.
in the recent years, I mean, where do you see the innovation heading, quite frankly?
Right. If you look at it like in the early time, only the process automation was the tech part. Everything else was handled by the MGAs. Then later came a decade ago, like some data-driven MGAs came. Data became the primary point, and their business was driven around the data and stuff like that. But today we are in a flux point where the AI is going to take over the entire system in terms of customer interface, in terms of process automation, in terms of data procuring, and in terms of interfacing with the carrier as well. So the next wave of technology is all going to be like the AI driven one. And most importantly, the agentic kind of thing is going to define the way the NGAs procure this solution also. They don't have to work with like large number of developers to define their processes and get it automated. AI will do it for them in a much more a linear way, like seamless way. So that's the important change that is going to happen in future. But then the impact it is going to have, where it is going to have the impact, that the MGA will have to decide. Do they take the entire thing in one go or take it in piecemeal fashion? Say, for example, like the customer interfacing. The way the customers talk to you is going to be different. Today, you may reach through some specific set of distribution channels. Tomorrow, like it's all going to be like kind of embedded. The customer will reach out to you even without you knowing it, consume your services without you knowing it initially, probably will come in later. So these kind of things, either you take at this level or process automation or at the carrier integration level or at the data level. You decide. That's
Yeah,
how it is going to be.
yeah, that's I think that's very spot on. What about the adoption of this, though? I mean, that's kind of a new wave for everybody. The MGAs, the MGUs, what do you think about the adoption? How receptive might they be to this AI stuff coming in?
Well, it's not just the insurance or MGA right now for the AI. Like AI is going to change every industry and quite a bit of people's lives it's going to touch. So if you don't adopt it today, you will be left behind. So now the way you adopt is what is going to change. Like you may want to take it as like a single exercise to convert your company into AI-driven one, or you take it in one at a time and then grow accordingly. Like today, if you ask me honestly, like the AI is not ready to the extent that we would want it to be because it's not very deterministic. It hallucinates a bit, but then 6 months down the line or a year down the line, you don't know how it is going to be, how much of replacement that it is going to do in terms of your processes. So be ready with it. Have your technology prepared for that. Like when it happens, adapt it. When it is not ready, just delay it a little bit. So that should be the approach they do it. But quite a bit of MGAs we have talked to are all looking forward to it. They're not ready to take it today, but they're trying to experiment with it and see if it is going to help them.
Yeah. And you mentioned the hallucinations, right? We hear that about the AI process that happening today. Do you see that getting better or more or fewer hallucinations? Where do you see that going out of curiosity?
Well, that is what drives the AI, right? So we are not expecting it to go away, but what we are expecting it is like it's going to be controlled. It is going to be directed towards the area that you want it to like create the new content, something which you don't know today. So the difference is basically like if you ask someone to do something and you have a well-defined process, he's going to produce exactly the expected output.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to go outside of it and come up with something that you need. So the AI is going to do that. When you give it the flexibility of hallucination, it's going to do something that is more creative. You may use it or you may not use it. That is where we put the human in the loop. They'll decide to use that part or not. The challenge for the tech people is like we figure out which part of it is hallucinated, which part is deterministic, which you can depend on, which you cannot depend on. That is where we come in. We try to classify that and present it in a way that like you can consume it straight away, or you can put some thought to it and then decide what to do with that.
Yeah, fantastic. It's a challenge, right? We all go through this. I mean, we put things into Chat GPT and, it pops up something, you go, okay, well, that's not quite right. So I love your concept of having the human come into it and sort of decipher, right? What's happening there. So very good. I want to shift my questioning to the MGA group, the program administrator group, startups versus the others. How do you feel the technology needs of a startup MGA, MGU program administrator? How do they differ from those that might already be well established?
Right, that's a fantastic question, Gene. So the startups, by definition, do not have a deep pocket. They cannot spend too much on the technology. So to start with, they need a technology that helps them do things that they want to do it in an efficient way today, but have the capability to scale to their 3 years down the line scale, business growth. Now, if they don't have that, what happens is like halfway through when they sign up with one big contract or get like bigger growth, they get stuck with a tech that doesn't help them and they cannot service their growth, business growth. So they'll face a problem. But if you look at an established player, they don't have that kind of a problem because they have gone through the life cycle. They would know what to do. Maybe they'll know how to manage it for a while until their tech grows. So the startup MGAs need to take it into a business plan that in 3 years down the line, I'm going to have this kind of a growth and my tech should be capable of growing. But that doesn't mean that I should spend that much time today, right? I should be able to spend money only for the growth that I have today and have the capability to grow up to the 3 years down the line growth. So that they have to figure it out first. That's first part of the problem. And then the second part is with the data. When you look at the data growth, that is also going to grow very well. Like for a startup, if they don't plan what kind of data they're going to handle in future, they'll stuck up with the same kind of a problem. They won't be able to handle the volume of data that comes in. They can't process them and they can't like throw them out also because that's very important part of their business growth. So they have to plan that also into account. So that those two are like very important thing. And the last thing that I probably think like technology cannot directly help is team building. When your growth happens, you need to have more people to handle it. tech cannot directly help you, but indirectly it can reduce the work your existing team does by analyzing their processes and optimizing some, so they can handle a little bit more load until like you get more people. So that's where like people like us come in, we sit with them, understand where they can optimize their processes and eliminate a little bit extra work for the current users so they can have a little bit more load. So that's the way like the third part can be handled.
And that's fantastic. I mean, you really kind of addressed the scaling of the systems and that sort of thing with the newer folks and the ones that exist. But what about the legacy systems, right? We know that these people have legacy systems, and that's an issue. And they're not the only ones, but what are your thoughts on that and how do they structure, going forward with the legacy systems?
Well, that's where the Insillion specializes in. Like, so what we do as part of Insillion for the carrier is that like almost every carrier has one or more core systems, right? And we provide a middleware system. We ask them not to replace the core, keep the core, use that as a system of record, and take all the intelligent part of that, like say product definitions, validations, API, everything out into the middleware layer. So your middleware layer is a single layer where you control everything. You can interface with more than one core. Your end users will be talking to only one layer. They will not even know the core exists, but core is used as a system of record. So this is what Insillion specializes in. We bring in new businesses, renewals, endorsements, cancellations, everything into the middle layer. And this works with multiple cores. So if one underwriter has a case that spans multiple LOBs, everything's handled in the middle layer. It can go to different core systems, but without even knowing that, he'll be able to do everything. The same thing, we bring it to the MGAs also. The difference is we don't expect them to go middleware layer to, core layer to the middleware layer in one single go. We expect them to do it in a piecemeal fashions because there are cases where you don't want to change the product in core. You want to change only one product. So that is what like Insillion provides. You can do it in one at a time. Your change management becomes easier. Training to the end users becomes easier. You don't have to train them on entire spectrum. You do only one at a time. So we split everything into loosely coupled components and move them one at a time.
Very interesting. So, kind of moving forward, I mean, this innovation piece that is coming into play, the automation, the AI, things like that, the tech, they're reshaping the space as I hear you explaining. What impact are they having on the efficiency and the decision making that's going on today? How is that happening?
Right. As I explained, like we take it into three portions, right? From the customer side, when a customer wants something, it could be a personal line or a commercial line, doesn't matter. When they need something, when they interface with your company's tech side without you having present in it, the tech part takes care of gathering additional information, whatever is missing, either from the internal sources or from the public data or from government records or any other source that's available. It fills in everything automatically. And then if there is something that's missing, it gets back to the customer automatically within seconds, not like within days or hours, but within seconds. So the customer can fill in the rest of the data and he gets his quotation of the premium value immediately. So unlike the current cases where it has to be done over a period of time, you put operations team, everybody looks at the data here and there and figures out what is missing, tries to fill the data. So the entire efficiency in terms of customer interfacing, that gets completely like knocked out and you do things within seconds. Now, when it comes to the operations team also, the entire process gets automated. And wherever there is a human in the loop comes in, that is when like he gets a notification, goes and does only a small portion of operation. He need not take a look at the entire submission, just only the portion that he needs to look at. And then the rest again gets taken care of by the AI. So this efficiency also gets improved a lot. Now, the best part is for the underwriters when it comes to risk profiling. The deep research that like the AI LLMs can do today is giving a fantastic output that summarizes it. Like say if there is a 100-page report that is created, it summarizes it beautifully and presents it in a way that like the underwriter can consume it. This is for the deep research. And the risk profiling and coming up with the risk score can also be done by the AI, but probably we will not take it up right now because it's not very deterministic. It may be like couple of quarters away, or maybe like 4 or 8 quarters away. But then by then, like the efficiency and the decision making can also be like completely taken over by them. But then there'll always be a human in the loop. They look at it and validate it, drive deeper into it to figure out like how AI arrived at this value, and then sign off on it. So
Yeah.
that improves the efficiency and the decision making here.
That,
Finally, like for the carrier side interface also is going to get like replaced, but that'll reduce the friction that you're going to have with them. Like anytime they ask for a data, you don't have to go back to the tech team, pull the data. So it can be automatically pulled from your data and sent back to them in the format they want. That will also
yeah,
improve the.
makes complete sense. I love it, and I think that's exactly how it's going to work. But let's talk about the APIs and the integrations, right? How are they playing a role in the MGA platforms? How do you seeing them shaping the future of the industry?
Oh, that's a very important question. Like say APIs have been there for like last 25, probably 30 years, but they have taken different shapes over a period of time. From the early times with application APIs and then to the HTTP kind of a thing, and then JSON based and SOAP based, a lot of shapes it has taken. But personally, I believe in future it's going to take the agentic AI kind of a shape. When you define API, it's an electronic interface. It is going to have a front end that will be an agent definition. Now, anybody who wants to use this API in a traditional sense, they'll have a developer who will study your API documentation, figure out like what API to call, in what sequence to call. All these things going to be eliminated and coordinated by the agentic AI automatically. So that is going to be the beauty of it. And the API shape will change. API as a concept will remain. So you choose a platform that has a well-defined API and fantastic documentation. So agentic AI systems can automatically consume them and use your systems. So anybody, like say a new distribution partner who already has a similar agentic AI kind of a thing built into his system will just consume it from your services. So you don't have to move a finger. It'll automatically work. So that is the kind of innovation that is going to happen. So the API as an electronic interface is a must. So anybody who's choosing a technology should evaluate and see like if this is a well-defined API.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I mean, we see a lot of these emerging technologies coming out of, everywhere, right? And keeping up with them is certainly a challenge in its own self, but some of them are game changers, right? And
Right.
which ones, in your opinion, are having the most impact?
I don't have a measure of most impact, but I'll tell you like what I believe like is going to happen
Yeah.
over a period of time. So there are technology that like has come had a good impact in other industries like financial sectors like blockchain that has not had a good impact in insurance, right? It has not taken off very well. So someone when they choose it, they have to choose a technology that the ecosystem is going to adapt. So that way, like I see a lot of things that are shaping up, like the predictive technology, some predictive analytics and predictive technologies that allows you to even figure out 6 days ahead of time earthquake is going to happen in a region that will help you mitigate the loss so your MGAs can reduce their losses and improve their profitability. Look for technologies like this that's specific to the business that you are in that will help you in terms of predictions and that will help you in terms of either risk profiling or risk mitigation. So these two are the things that will have very good impact going forward because this is where the MGAs will add value. When AI has taken over everything else in terms of processes, you bring in value from these perspectives. How do you integrate them and how do you use them? So that's one part of it. And the second one is the data. Like earlier, or maybe currently, we used to have data that is analyzed 6 months ago, and someone created a report based on that, or like some kind of a risk profile based on that. The real-time risk profiling and analysis is available with the carriers, but that's very expensive. MGAs cannot have that right now, but that will also come up. Your ability to work on current data and modify your risk profiles and risk scores is going to be like another game changer. The last one is the way you distribute it. Instead of distributing as a single policy, you will do it based on the usage-based policies. So in your area, figure out like how do you split your policies into usage-based one and give the benefit to the customers. So they'll benefit out of it, but you will also benefit in terms of the actual usage and the results based on that.
Yeah.
So these are
And
three proper impact areas that I could think of.
yeah, great response. You know, technology is expanding and streamlining operations and things of that nature. Maybe you can share a success story if you have one for
I'll
this
be happy
situation.
to. I'll be happy to. Like I have a customer, like Bonza, he's an auto rental insurance. They had a system, custom-made system, one simple like customer interface type thing, and then rest of the operations they were doing manually. When they wanted to figure out a way of using technology to improve their efficiency, they looked at us through a mutual reference. What we do is we provide you 180 days, no cost sandbox, so you can play around with it. You can experiment, create variations of your product, take it to the market, figure out which one works, which one doesn't, or maybe take it to the carriers and figure out like what is acceptable to them. Then go live with one of them. So when you go live, we also give you pay as you grow model, so you don't have to have any upfront cost. So this was like a very good option for them. So they started with this. They looked at it and then decided that like they'll want to go right away with it. They don't want the sandbox, want to go straight with the production thing. Within 6 weeks, went live, and their B2C portal, B2B portal, all of them were available out of the box because we generate them. We don't write the code, we generate it based on the product definition. And then the best part is the APIs and rating engine was also available. And this customer saw an uptick of 25% in his GWP, primarily because he could onboard 140 rental management distribution partners within the 6 months period. And then he integrated with 4 rental management software. So anybody who uses a software with an embedded thing, like they with one checkbox, they'll get the insurance whenever they like book for an auto rental. So the entire spectrum of it was available for him. On top of it, what we are now doing for him is like we are giving him an F&O option. Currently, he is trying to do that through the Excel sheet, and in a manual process, he passes it on to the third party. And if the customer asks, he'll have to call the third party, figure out the status, and give it back to them. So all these things are also going to get like eliminated, and everything will be seamless. Now, this is saving him a lot of time. Now he's focusing on getting more and more rental management distribution partners and softwares integrated, so his business growth can be more linear and scalable.
Very nice. Very nice. That's awesome. Um, let's talk about the future, right? I mean, future proofing operations, that's something that everyone is looking at. What strategies should MGAs, MGUs, program administrators adopt to ensure a long-term success, with technology? Any thoughts on that?
Sure. Like I had mentioned earlier, API is most important one. Like once you
Okay.
have an electronic interface, now we can adopt it to any kind of a future technology with a little bit of effort. Earlier, we used to put like some kind of external layers to do it. Now with AI, once you define the layer, it becomes like naturally adaptable. So you don't have to change what you have, but you can interface with the newer technologies like AI or any other thing that comes in future, but defining additional layers. So this is like one very important aspect, like whatever you define, whatever you take as a technology, make sure there is an electronic interface, there is no manual form based or anything else. So every aspect of your tech must be controlled through the API. If you can ensure that, then you have like a little bit of a future proof already built into your thing. But from the business side of it, you may have to think further through and figure out like if there is something that you're going to change in future, talk to the tech partner and figure out if that is going to be accommodated or not. If that is going to be already in the roadmap of the tech partner, that's good. If not, like ask them if that would be part of their roadmap. Can that be added as part of their roadmap? So that also will ensure that like you have a future ready thing.
We don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? I mean, it's always good
Right.
to think through that. Um, you know, Along those lines, one question that I have for you is if you could change one thing about the MGA, MGU, approach to technology, what would that be? And
I'll
why?
take two things.
All
Uh,
right.
One is something like where you don't treat technology as something that sits outside of your business, treat it as part of your business. So when you make a business plan, ensure that the tech is part of it in every aspect of it, right? From your customers to the internal operations to the integration with the carriers, every part of it, including your people's thought process. So if you make sure that, then like you have a fantastic differentiation compared to your competitors, right? Whoever is not doing it will be left behind. Now, if you have trouble with it, then talk to the tech people like us who will be able to help you through the whole process, where all we can help. So this is one part of it. The second part is about the build versus buy. Sometimes people think like buy is very expensive, build is the cheapest option to go, especially the startups. But then buy over a period of time, the TCO, the total cost of ownership is much less compared to the build. Build will always put you in a spot when you're trying to grow big. The opportune time, your Murphy's Law will kick in. So it's always better to figure out like what all things that you have to buy and what all things you have to build around that. And over a period of time, replace the built component with the bought component. So try to always work towards like going towards a standard component rather than build options for everything. Of course, there are times where you would want to build it because there is nobody providing it, because you're very niche area or something which you don't have it. That time you don't have a choice, but the rest of it, the standard components, don't try to build it up.
Kind of to that point, how do you go about staying ahead of industry trends and keeping, the business from a technology standpoint, and the evolving customer needs? How do you go about staying ahead of those things?
Well, we consider ourselves as a tech company, right? More than business. Even though we are only in insurance industry, we consider ourselves as a tech people. And we work with companies like Datos, earlier Novarica. They provide us insight into where the industry is heading towards. So all our tech progress is also towards like the industry's tech needs, not like the general tech needs. And we keep ourselves updated through other channels also. Like we attend the AWS or Azure events and figure out like what their thought processes are. And then we come up with a roadmap for the next 3 quarters or maybe 8 quarters. Say, for example, like if you take AI, we would have put something like, say, 3 quarters down the line as some kind of a module that we will be building around that. But we don't stop it there. What we do is we create a prototype today and we share it with like one customer's one small set of team, and we figure out like how is it making a difference for them. Is it like helping them? Is it making it difficult for them? Is it useful, not useful? If it proves to be a little bit more useful, we try to expand the user base a little bit, and then we try to figure out like if this can be used with other customers also. That's when we move it ahead of the roadmap thing into the current work in progress, and then we try to make like something which is more a platform a feature, and then roll it out as part of the next one. So that's how we do it. But then in the process, we also try to figure out like what the customer needs. When we sit with them, we also get to understand like how they do the day-to-day operations and figure out like what would make a difference for them.
So it sounds like it's a continual learning process.
It is.
You're building on of each experience, and so that's fantastic. I mean, and we'll see where all this goes, and it sounds like you folks at Insillion are spot on with everything. Raja, I really appreciate your time. I've enjoyed the conversation, and thank you very much for everything, and look forward to seeing more from you in the future.
Thank you, Gene. It's been a pleasure having a chat with you like this, and looking forward to meet you sometime in person too.